Hey there friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I'm back to share a new layout for Shimmerz paints, and I'm going to be digging into my stash for this layout. This is the Basic Gray Prism collection from 2014. I just went to my shelves, grabbed a bag of stuff and said whatever's in this bag I'm going to use on a layout, and it was this collection, and I thought, okay, this is really pretty. I forgot I even had this. I mean, it's so many years old and I didn't use a lot of it, so I thought, you know, I want to use a lot of patterns. I really like all the colors and patterns in this 6x6 paper pad, and I was in the mood to use some circles, so I grabbed my 1.5-inch circle punch and went to punching. I punched at least one from each of the patterns, and punching small shapes like this is a great way to get a lot of patterns on one layout without it being too much. And while I still think this layout turns out kind of busy, I still like how it looks. So, and it's going to change, but this is kind of what I was thinking here in the beginning, is I wanted to do circles on the right side of the page and then kind of situate my photo kind of in the center, and then do some embellishing over on the left. And that's going to change, but I realized I needed some more circles. So I'm going to keep punching, keep playing around, and this is what I have so far. I kind of like it, but I turn it different directions to see if I might like it, and I think I want to do this. But in the meantime, I'm going to prep my cardstock for all the shimmers I'm going to add to it. And I'm using thick, smooth, white cardstock. It's the Basil Marshmallow, and I'm using Finnabair Art Basics Clear Gesso. It's very smooth, and I really, really love it. Now, I'm using the circles that I punched as my color scheme, and so I'm going to pull out several Shimmerz paints that I have that match all of these colors, and I'm going to get to those later, but I want to figure out my design first. I printed out 3 cute little selfies of me and my daughter here. She's just always over my shoulder when I'm at my desk, and so I try to snap little pictures of her when she comes in, and so those are from a few years ago. Then here's where I decided to maybe try to do the circles differently. I thought, well, let me situate them on the top half of the layout and then maybe put the photos kind of in a crooked line underneath the big row there, something like that. Because at first I thought I was going to use one big photo, and then I wound up using 3 smaller ones, and I couldn't really figure out how to make those work in a vertical line like when I had the circles on the right side. So I played around with it and decided I think I'm going to put the circles on the top. Okay, so as far as this collection goes, I've got a pack of the die cuts, which you see here. There are lots of different things. There's some acetate pieces, there are some die cuts, I have some chipboard stickers, and I have some cardstock stickers. So I don't have a ton of stuff, but I have plenty to do a couple layouts. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and glue the circles down just in the middle. So if I want to ruffle up the edges or kind of bend up the circles, I can. And I did add a few more to fill up the top. And then I decided that I wanted to kind of soften up some of the colors of the circles. So I'm going to come in with some white gesso and just soften up, especially the ones on the bottom row, because I know that my mixed media is going to start to kind of overlap the circles. And then I thought, well, let me just go ahead and soften up all the circles and kind of make some of them look a little weathered and hazy. I always love to do that, and gesso is perfect for that. And it just kind of softens up the patterns and the colors a little bit, and I like how that looks. So I'm going to go ahead and layer my photos up and get them organized. I know that I'm going to layer up some white tissue paper under there, as well as some adhesive foam. That's where I'm going to start, and if I'm going to layer anything else, I'll do that later. But I wanted to kind of see where my photos were going to go, and that's going to determine where I start to add in my shimmers. So it's interesting because a lot of times I'll start with the shimmers and make a background and then go from there, and then sometimes like this, when I'm in the mood to use a collection, I will let the collection determine my colors. And so I like to show a variety of ways to use your shimmers and all your paints and everything. Sometimes you can just use them to create your own layout from scratch. I do that a lot, but sometimes I do like to use a collection. And so I was in the mood to use up some of my stash. So that's why we're going with all of these things first before I get to the shimmers. And I'm just trying to decide what I want to put in between the second and third photo. I like to split them up and kind of, you know, work in embellishments in between and around them. Okay, so I've got all my shimmers pulled out here, and I'm going to tell you what each one of them is as I use them. I've got some sprays, I've got some actual shimmers that are already blended up, and then I have a couple of, no, I have one Inklings. I actually have two there, but I only use one. So I'm going to start with pink. I sprayed some Spritz Cotton Candy. That's the little pink or the light pink spray that I used. And then I mixed in a little bit of the Shimmerz Bubblegum Blast, and that's in the little pot there. The shimmers are awesome. They are ready to go. All you have to do is take the lid off and blend them up. And there are some super, super sparkly, chunky glitter bits in there that make it so sparkly when it dries. It's gorgeous. This color I haven't used in a very long time. It's an Inklings, and it's called Good as Gold. I tend to use the Miner 49er more frequently. It's a softer gold, whereas this one is more of a yellow gold. It's a little bit of a darker and bolder gold. Still gorgeous, still very metallic and shiny and shimmery when it's dry. But yeah, I don't think Good as Gold gets enough praise because it's beautiful, and it actually matches those two yellowish golden color circles. Perfect match for that. So that is that color. I'm going to mix and match a couple of colors here. These are both sprays. I started with Spritz. That's not what it's called. Spritz Hint of Mint, and then a little bit of Coloring's Well Blew Me Down. And that bottle is almost empty, so I could not, I probably have to unclog the nozzle. So that's why I just took the nozzle out and added a couple of drops there. But yeah, if you ever have a bottle of shimmers that is clogged, and when you go to press the nozzle and it won't come out, all you have to do is take it out and run it under some warm water in your sink and flush it out, and it will fix. That's always worked for me, and so I just need to do that for that bottle. Okay, I'm trying to create that deep orangey red color, so I'm mixing two colors. I'm mixing, actually, what did I spray first? Oh, I sprayed Peachy Keen, sorry. I'm talking about one thing and you're seeing another. I sprayed Coloring's Peachy Keen, and then I'm going to mix in some Wed Wagon. Yes, I said that correctly. It's a Shimmerz. It's called Wed Wagon, and a little bit of Pumpkin. Pumpkin is bright orange, and it's awesome. It's perfect for Halloween, and it's like the perfect rainbow orange color. So I'm just starting to kind of make these circles kind of look like they're fading the color down the page. I've created a couple of layouts like this. I remember doing one several months ago with circles, kind of a similar design for Shimmerz. And then I've created a couple of other ones recently. I did one for Paige Evans with the Christmas trees, and it wasn't circles, but it was the same idea of creating colors beneath a row of something to look like the objects are kind of running, I guess you could say. And so it's the same concept, just a different shape, and I love to do this. The black color that I use there is Coloring's called Night Moves. I usually use that mainly for splatters, but it's a perfect color if you want to add a little bit of gray in. All right, so this is what I've got so far. I like how this is looking, and I'm trying to situate the photos. And what happened was I realized that I covered up the pink and the black circle. So I'm going to have to work on that because I didn't really want to cover that up with the photo, but I felt like if I put the photos too low, then it just, I don't know, I needed them to be higher on the page. Just visually, it was bugging me. I'm adding a little bit more of the aqua colors on top of the aqua circle there, and then some more of the pink. That's the Bubblegum Blast. I'm just touching up some areas that I want to be a little bit bolder. And you'll be able to see the shimmer here in just a minute. Now, when you add water to a lot of these products, sometimes you will lose some of the shimmer because you're diluting it. But it just depends on how you use it. Like sometimes it doesn't bother me. I mostly go for the color, but with the shimmers here that I'm using in the pots, it's hard to get rid of that shimmer. You really can't, because it's so glittery and gorgeous. It's going to be shimmery no matter what, no matter how much water you add to it. So pretty. I'm just kind of mixing and matching here with some of the colors to do some splatters. I did some with the Bubblegum Blast, and then I'm going to blend the Wed Wagon with the pumpkin again to do some of that deep orange splatter. But yeah, now if you have questions about any of the different kinds of shimmers, always feel free to ask me. I try to explain each of them in my videos. The Inklings come dry, and they come in a little, like they're almost like a little hard cake of paint, and you have to add water to those. So what I like to do is squirt enough water in there and then just let it sit, and it's going to soften up the paint in a few minutes time, and then you can really stir it up and it's going to get thicker. And if you spray water in it right away and stick your brush in it while the cake is still hard, you can still get color out of it, but it's going to be very light. I like to soften it up so I can stir the entire pot of paint. And the Inklings, when they dry, are very, very shimmery, very shiny. Just, I mean, you can see how shiny it is in the pot, especially that gold. But yeah, you get a really pretty shimmery sheen when you're done. And then the Creamies also come hard in the little cake form. But they dry more of like a satin finish. And I'm not using any Creamies today, but they do dry a little bit differently. And all the colors are slightly different than the Inklings. And yeah, so it's fun to just kind of get a variety of the products depending on the colors you like or the finishes that you want. All right, so I'm going through all the embellishments, and I found that little acetate ampersand, and I thought that's perfect because it's like 2 photos and the next one. I don't know, I just liked it, so I'm going to use that. I found 2 of these cute little flower stickers that I want to move around before I stick them down, so I stuck them to some white cardstock that I had in my little bin, and then I cut them out so I can move them around. So I'm going to use those in a couple spots. And I found some more circles that I'm going to kind of cascade down. I punched another black one to stick right underneath the photos there since I covered up the original black circle. And then I've got a couple of chipboard circles, an acetate one, a sticker, just a variety in all different sizes. And I kind of wanted to echo all of the circles up at the top, kind of falling down underneath the photos there. And so far, I like how this is looking. I do want to use some more of these stickers. And I'm going to start to layer in a couple of these little label tab stickers there. And I want to use this flower, and I think I'm going to stick it right there, just mainly because there's already a pink circle behind it. I took a break. I decided that I needed some texture on the background, so I did some stitching. I just did a straight stitch with black thread through each line of circles. And you can kind of see some of the shimmer there from the color. Yeah, I like stitching. I hadn't stitched in a while, and I just was feeling some black thread, so I went for it. Like how that looks. And then I'm going to start to put everything back, because I haven't glued anything down yet at this point. And I don't want to get too busy with the embellishments. Sorry about the glare there on the third photo. I was just into the zone, and I totally didn't pay attention that my light was reflecting off of that. I will fix it here in a second when I realize it. But yeah, I don't want to get too much more busy here because I feel like I got a lot going on. And so I'm going to try to keep everything else smaller. I am going to go with some thread here. I'm going to go with black. And I'm going to stick that kind of underneath the third photo because basically on the bottom half of the page, don't really have anything black, and I felt like the black thread was a good choice for that area. And then I'm going to start to glue everything down. I'm going to glue the photos down, all the little layers that I've got behind there, and I don't want to move it again. Now I'm using Scotch tacky glue in my little fine liner bottle there. It's the only glue that I have ever used in that bottle, and you can see by how dirty my bottle is. I've worn the label off with my gesso painty fingers. That bottle has lasted me for years. I love that thing. So yeah, it's highly recommended. I love the little needle tip on it. It's perfect for scrapbooking. Now I kept eyeballing that pink scallop sticker, the border piece, so I pulled that off. I'm gonna cut it and use it underneath the the two photos together, with a bigger piece and then a smaller piece here under this single photo. And I just like the details of scallops. I think they make the perfect little border detail. And then I'm going to work on arranging all of those little circles down at the bottom, and try a couple other embellishments here. I want to add things, but then when I start to play around with it, it's like, no, it doesn't look good there. It doesn't look good there. Too busy, too much. So I just put it aside and work on something else. Yeah, I keep trying things, and you just never know how something's going to look until you try it out. And sometimes I like something the first time I try it, and sometimes I try it 4 or 5 times before I decide whether or not it looks okay. And in this case, I just feel like there's so much going on the top part of the page. I kind of want to leave that area alone. The circles are just, they're their own design at the top, so I don't want to overload the area. I'm going to glue down all of these circles down at the bottom, and because I know that I like those, I don't want to keep, having those move all around. Then I took a break and came back and decided that I needed some kind of layer behind a couple of the photos. So I went back to the 6x6 paper pad and just cut a couple of little layering pieces to kind of wedge underneath the photo there. I didn't even cut a full square. You saw what I cut there, just a little sliver for the top and the side. And that's kind of a yellow golden color that I'm gonna kind of just stick in the photo on the right. And because I've already glued all that down, I don't want to peel it up. So I'm gonna go with the yellow on the right photo and then a piece of this orange paper for this photo here on the left. And I'm just going to leave the photo in the middle alone. But yeah, I felt like, because there's so much stuff going on, I wanted the photos to stand out a little bit more. And I feel like when you add layers behind the photos, it kind of helps them separate more from the background. And it just bugs me when I feel like the photos are getting lost in the pattern. I want the photos to stand out, and the background should always be secondary. Even though I spend way too much time making the background, I feel like I don't want it to overpower the photo. Otherwise, what's the point of having the photo on there, So I want to make sure that the photos are front and center and visible, and then you notice the background. Hopefully, if that makes sense. I'm just gluing down a couple small pieces here. A couple of die cuts. I decided to add some black thread over to the left because I've only got the black thread in that one spot, so I feel like I need some over on the left side. So I'm gonna make a little tangle there and wedge it underneath this photo here on the left. And I love using black thread. I don't use it enough. I only really use it when I have pops of black in the layout, and in this case I do. So I felt like there's so much of all the other colors going on. I felt like pink would blend in too much. The yellow wouldn't show up as well. I am going to use some of that minty aqua color down underneath one of these circles, because if you notice, there really is no aqua down on the bottom half of the layout other than the shimmers that I added. So I added a pop of that color in with the thread there. I'm going to use a couple of the Shimmerz dots on my page, and these I will link below. They're also available in the Shimmerz store. They're basically exclusive little epoxy dots, and there are all kinds of designs. These are just plain white with some black words, and they're perfect for this, and they're circles. So I'm going to add one down in this little cluster. I'm going to add one above the photos and then one to the right. And then I wanted some more aqua down at the bottom, so I pulled out this package of sequins from Spiegel Mom Scraps, and they had these perfect, pretty little aqua colored, minty colored sequins. So I'm going to glue a couple of those down in the bottom. And they work, again, because they're circles and they're cute and they add texture and dimension, and I haven't used sequins in a long time. And then I'm going to use one of these pink ones that's in this pack. It's got some texture on it and it's shimmery and really, really pretty. But yeah, I've had this pack of sequins for probably over a year or so. But I'll link the Spiegel Mom Scraps store below too if you want to check out their sequins. She has the best sequins. So this is a Maggie Holmes sticker book. I'm going to use this black clear sticker that says hello, mainly because it's in my little bin of stash on my desk. And I was like, I need to use some of this stuff up. Goodness gracious, it just keeps getting bigger and I'm not using it enough. It's crazy. So I'm going to use that. And then I'm going to use this little sticker sheet of black and white words. I think that's from Pink Paisley from Fifth and Monaco. There we go. And I'm just going to make this title Hello Love. I've probably used that as a title 8,000 times, but oh well, it's okay. I'm going to do it again. Now these are some stamps from Jen Scow. I ordered these a while ago. I know she just did a new release, but these are from an older release and they're called My Rainbow stamp set. And I'm going to use this little messy circle with a heart in it. And then there's another little messy tiny circle that's in this stamp set that I'm going to use as well. Right there. Use that in a couple spots. And I'll link Jen Scow's store down below too. Yeah, these stamps are from 2019 and they may still be in her store. I don't know, but I'll link the store down below if you want to check those out as well. She makes some really beautiful stamps. So I'm going to use a couple of those. And then I also used one called You Make My Life Happy. I just stamped that off camera. And then I wanted to soften up the black stamp circles. So I just took my white Jelly Roll pen and kind of scribbled over them just to soften them up just a little bit. And then we're almost done. I'm going to do the journaling right there underneath the title. And I'm going to use my T-square ruler to draw my lines. And then I'm going to use my black Sharpie. It's a fine tip Sharpie to do my journaling. And I am going to wind up adding a sticker underneath hello right by love. You can see it there because I just, that open space was bugging me. So I filled it up. Last thing I'm going to do is go back to the Night Moves colorings and add some black splatters. And I think that's going to call it a day. It's going to be over. It's almost finished. Where's the final photo? There it is. That's the final layout. I do love how this turned out. It was a lot of fun to make, and I was so happy to use up some of my stash. And it was a lot of fun to just start with a collection and then pick my shimmers to match. And I really like making a half and half background like this, where you kind of cover half of it with paper and then let the shimmers kind of run down the different color shapes or pattern or whatever it is that you have. In this case, it was the different color circles. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to do, and I hope this inspired you. I hope it gave you some ideas to try. I'm going to make a list of all the Shimmerz colors that I used down below in the description box. So if you want to check those out, yeah, there's so many beautiful shimmers. I have my favorite colors, but then every time I make a layout, I'm like, oh, I love this color. Why don't I use it more often? Because they're all so pretty. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions. I took a lot of close-ups. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you later. Thanks for watching.